Hey, it's Dr. Phil with you again, talking about the real story. This is where I take the news and give you what I think is really going on. Now, you all know that not long ago, I was very straightforward about what I think is going on in our elite universities in this country. In fact, I said that I thought they were not educating our children, that they were indoctrinating our children, and that they were just essentially establishing intellectual rot. They weren't teaching critical thinking. They weren't educating our children in the areas, the fields, the specialties that they were necessarily going there to learn. And I'm back talking about this again. Harvard University, which people think about being the top university in the country, is giving free tuition to students from families earning $200,000 or less per year.
Harvard University students will be eligible for free tuition.
Free tuition, free tuition.
That's 86% of the United States. They're also giving full-blown free rides. I'm talking tuition, room, and board to families making less than $100,000 a year. Now, that would be great, right? Sounds like how generous, because they have a huge endowment. Well, the real story is that would be excellent news if we knew these students would be getting an education and not an indoctrination. So let's look at what's really going on. In 2023, 77% of Harvard faculty identified as either very liberal or liberal. Not a real balance. We're talking about the huge majority. Another 2023 study, Harvard came in dead last for free speech among 248 colleges and universities, dead last. Now, you got to really work to come in dead last. In fact, they were so last, they had to have their own category. 3/4 of students report that they are uncomfortable publicly disagreeing with their professor. 70% say it's acceptable to shout down a speaker if they disagree with them. And even 3% say violence to stop a speech is acceptable. Evolutionary biologist Carol Hooven, who you've seen on my show, who you've heard on my podcast, said she was pressured to resign because she stated that a person's sex is biological and binary.
So I just want to start out by saying there are reasons the sexes are different in the first place, and it's because of differences in the way we reproduce.
She didn't do the research, she just reported other people's research. She did a meta-analysis on a whole lot of other studies and just reported what the numbers were. They called her transphobic. They said she was giving hate speech, was pressured to resign. Harvard professor Roland Fryer said he needed armed security after publishing a study showing no racial bias in police-involved shootings. By the way, at age 30, Fryer was the youngest African American ever awarded tenure at Harvard. Did you catch in that sentence? He was African American, saying that there was no racial bias. 2023, the Supreme Court ruled against Harvard for discriminating against Asian American applicants and other privileged overachieving groups like Indians and Jews. After October 7th, past President Claudine Gay allowed calls for the genocide of Jews on campus. She testified to Congress. You'll remember she was talking to a panel that was asking, what's this that you're allowing to happen on campus? That genocide depends on context.
The rules around bullying and harassment are quite specific. And if the context in which that language is used amounts to bullying and harassment, then we take action against it.
A keyword search showed dozens of Harvard classes for critical race theory, racism, and Marx. They included queering education, queering the world, capitalism, crime and punishment in American history. Recently, in March 25, a Harvard librarian tore down posters for infant Israeli hostage Kfir Bibas, whose body was returned to Israel by Hamas. Look, maybe things are actually changing. The university strongly condemned that librarian. People applying for faculty positions no longer are required to write diversity statements. So how is this playing across the country? Well, applicants for early decision for the class of 2028 dropped 17%. Maybe a direct result of the mobs on campus following October 7th. Now, hopefully Harvard is getting the message and not using free tuition to recruit the next generation of far-left radicals. But who knows? When you've got over 70% of your faculty that is liberal or very liberal, who knows what their agenda is going to be? Who knows? But I'm telling you this, if you're a parent, you should know. You should know what you're sending your child to a university to get. Are they getting an education? Are they getting prepared for the next level of life? Are they getting what they need to compete in a meritocracy? Are they getting what they need to go into the real world where people want results, where people want performance? Or are they getting indoctrination? If I was a parent and I was charged with preparing my child for the next level of life, I would want to know the answer to that question. And while I've got you, let me change the subject. I've got to tell you, I've been watching what's going on with Tesla. Now, look, I don't know how you feel about Elon Musk. Maybe you think he's a genius. Maybe you think he's a good thing with Doge. Maybe you think he's a bad thing for Doge. I don't know. You may even think he's an idiot. He is the richest man on planet Earth, so he's not completely stupid. But either way, because you don't like what he's doing, you don't need to become a complete adolescent. You don't need to become an idiot. On March 18th, a Tesla dealership was attacked in Las Vegas. Now, what do I mean by attacked? I mean gunshots, explosions, fires, as well as spray paint with the word resist. Seriously? In South Carolina, an arsonist tried to burn down a Tesla charging station and ended up setting himself on fire. Who's the idiot? Boston, 7 charging stations in a mall outside were set on fire. Portland, gunshots at a Portland dealership, damaging 3 cars, shattering windows. 1 bullet went through an office wall and into a computer monitor. Somebody could have been sitting at that monitor. Cybertrucks were burned in Seattle. In New York City, 350 protesters at a Tesla takedown. 6 arrests for disorderly conduct for resisting arrest. Around the country, crude drawings of genitalia on Teslas. Drivers getting out of their cars at stoplights to scream at Tesla drivers. You don't know what those Tesla drivers think. They may have bought that car before he became the director of Doge. They may totally agree with you, but you're out jacking with them. Paintball attacks. Now, there's a mature response. 18-wheelers refusing to let Teslas merge. Look, the actual number of confirmed incidents are unclear. Who knows? There have been over 500,000 Teslas sold in the U.S. in 2024, 633,762 by my research. And this is not just in the U.S. Belfast, a dealership was attacked. 20 cars with broken wing mirrors, smashed windows, bodywork dents, so some morons going along kicking cars. What do you think that is going to accomplish? That's like your girlfriend breaks up with you and keys your car. That's mature. I mean, come on, guys. What in the world are we thinking here? If you don't like it, write a letter. Call your congressman, call your senator, write the president. Do something that has some chance of impact. But these are childish, adolescent behaviors that are going to get you in trouble. Because when you're vandalizing a business like that, you could be doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. When you're tearing up a car like that, You're vandalizing something that's very expensive and you're going to get caught. There are cameras everywhere. And they're going to see you doing this, and you're going to wind up getting arrested. And you think you resent Elon Musk now, wait until all of his lawyers weigh in and get prosecutors to take you to the full extent of the law. Do something that matters. Don't just do something that vents your anger, your behavior. And I'm guessing if you were given a Doge test right now, you couldn't pass it. You wouldn't know what's making sense and what's not. Look, I'm watching Doge really close. They're supposedly after fraud, waste, and abuse. And if they're eradicating something that needs to be where it is, some program that needs to keep going, then it's going to be restored, or I'm going to raise hell until it is. Trust me, and I got a big megaphone and a big corner pulpit to be beating on. Who is not against fraud, waste, and abuse? We've all been complaining about it forever. We just now have somebody dedicated to doing it intentionally. Let this play out. Let it play out. But you're certainly not going to change anything by vandalizing private property or causing a traffic accident or starting a fire that could cause somebody to get injured. So let's not get stupid here, and let's make sure that we're doing the right thing at the right time and holding the right people accountable for the right thing. And that is the real story.